Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, today we are tearing into the Kansas City Chiefs' big win, 28-7 over the Commanders in Week 8.
Yeah, and this one feels, well, significant, not just the scoreline.
Right. The data suggests this might be a real turning point for their season.
That's exactly it. So our mission here is kind of a surgical strike on the analysis that's come out. We want to look past that 28-7 and really pull out the key nuggets about this Chiefs offense.
Focusing on what specifically?
Well, resilience, for one.
Yeah.
But also offensive depth and, maybe most importantly, this theme of, like, highly specialized roles emerging.
Specialization. Interesting angle.
Yeah, we need to figure out if this new reliance on specific guys for specific jobs, running backs, receivers, even how Mahomes is playing, is actually a sustainable way for them to get back to, the Super Bowl.
And the context definitely supports that shift, doesn't it? I mean, the reports are saying the Chiefs got counted out maybe a bit too soon this year after that sputtering start.
Absolutely written off by some.
But now, the offense looks like it's clicking again. Analysts are putting them right back on that mountaintop. So this deep dive is really our way and your way, listener, to understand how they got back and, crucially, what it means for fantasy going forward.
Okay, let's jump into the offense first.
Yeah.
Because the numbers, they really back up this idea that the Chiefs are true contenders again. We're not just looking at the 28 points from this Washington game.
No, it's the trend.
Exactly, the trend.
So let's unpack that. The big one seems to be Xavier Worthy's return, right?
Right.
He dislocated his shoulder back in Week 1.
Against the Chargers.
And since he's been back, the scoring's just exploded. They're averaging, what, 30.4 points per game?
A blistering 30.4. That's a huge offensive jump. And yeah, it lines up perfectly with getting a key weapon back.
But it's not just Worthy, is it? The data also highlights RASHEE Rice.
Correct. With Rice in the lineup, small sample size maybe, but they're 2-0.
Yeah.
And in those two games, they're averaging 29.5 points.
Okay, so almost identical scoring. It suggests that having those specific pieces available really stabilizes things. It's not just luck. It's the offense, finally, maybe operating at full strength after those early injuries kind of messed with their timing.
Yeah, the rhythm seems back.
That kind of scoring, I mean, that's usually Super Bowl contender territory. But, okay, let's pump the brakes slightly. The analysis does bring up a necessary caution point: quality of competition.
Right. You have to look at who they've played during this hot streak.
And what does the source material say there?
Well, it's pretty clear their schedule recently has been, let's say, relatively soft. The only opponent you could maybe call semi-impressive in this stretch was Detroit in Week 6.
And the analysis notes they were a banged-up Lions team at that point.
Exactly. Banged up. Outside of that, they face teams that are really struggling to find any kind of consistency.
So, okay, they're dominating, yes, but mainly weaker teams. The old saying is, to be the best, you have to beat the best. Are the analysts worried about that?
Surprisingly, the consensus seems pretty positive about it. The thinking is that consistently dominating these inferior matchups, handling your business on both sides of the ball, that is actually a hallmark of a true contender.
Okay, so not playing down to the competition.
Right. That 28-7 win is a perfect example. They took care of business efficiently. It suggests a high level of execution, regardless of who's lining up opposite them.
And that high-level execution, that confidence, it gives us a nice, clean transition to the guy running the show.
To the quarterback.
Yeah.
Who is perhaps executing even better than some of the basic stats might suggest.
Exactly. Which brings us straight to Patrick Mahomes and the interception discussion. He's got 4 picks now in 2025 after this Commanders game.
4 picks. And on the surface, yeah, that might sound a little riskier than maybe we expect from Mahomes.
A little bit, yeah.
But this is where the deep analysis is crucial. It confirms that only half of those interceptions were genuinely, on him.
Only half. So just 2.
Just 2 were apparently down to a bad read or a poor decision by Mahomes himself.
Okay, wait. That really challenges the narrative. When you're judging a 2-time MVP, that kind of context is absolutely vital. What are the examples? Which ones weren't his fault?
Well, there are 2 really clear ones, and maybe surprisingly, both involve Travis Kelce.
Oh.
Yeah. The first one cited was back in Week 2 against the Eagles. A short pass near the end zone looked like Kelce had it. And it just slid right through his hands, just deflected straight to a defender. Just bad luck, maybe concentration.
Right, not on Mahomes. And the second one?
Against Washington this past week. Another critical drop by Kelce that led directly to an interception. It's pretty astonishing, really.
Wow. That's tough for Kels. Maybe just high volume catching up, but it definitely takes the blame off Mahomes for those two. So, okay, that leaves the two that were on him. We know one was that massive 99-yard pick six against the Jags.
Correct. That one was definitely on him. And then another throw earlier in this Commanders game accounted for the second attributable pick. Gotcha.
But the key takeaway, the synthesis here, is that when we talk about Mahomes and risk, we have to understand he's actually been incredibly careful with the ball this season. More so than that raw interception number suggests.
So like a strategic shift towards prioritizing possession.
It seems that way. He's avoiding the truly risky throws, mostly. Those 4 picks statistically look more like an anomaly, heavily influenced by, mistakes by his receivers.
It feels like the Chiefs are almost demanding perfection on every single play, and the margin for error is tiny.
That's a good way to put it.
And that pressure for precise execution, it leads us right into those hyper-specific roles we talked about, especially with the receivers.
Yeah, let's turn to RASHEE Rice now, because his game against the Commanders, it's just a perfect case study in this offensive prioritization, this specialization we're seeing.
It was really a tale of two halves for him, wasn't it? For fantasy managers, it must have been whiplash. Total whiplash. I mean, at halftime, Rice looked like he was just gone, fading away. The report suggested he was maybe going to be the latest victim of KC's offensive depth. Too many mouths to feed.
Right. And his stats reflected that. What did he have at the half?
Just 2 catches, 6 yards, and 1 carry for 7 yards. That's it. Like 4 fantasy points. Total.
4 points? Ouch. The source material even noted that with the Chiefs fully healthy, it's hard to trust any receiver besides maybe Kelce because that target share is so volatile week to week.
Exactly. He was basically invisible. But then the second half happened.
Yeah.
And the analysts are suggesting there was a really deliberate, concerted effort by the coaching staff to just force the ball his way, get him involved.
Okay, so what was the final stat line? Because it must have been a huge turnaround.
Oh, it was almost miraculous given that start. He finished with 9 catches on 9 targets for 93 yards and a touchdown. Plus, he added 2 more rushes for 12 yards.
Wait. 9 catches on 9 targets in one half.
9 for 9. Perfect catch rate.
Yeah. That screams we are making this happen, doesn't it? Does the analysis see this as like genuine offensive chemistry developing, or was it more just the coaches saying, okay, Rice needs touches, design plays for him?
The analysis leans more towards that latter idea. It's proactive trust, maybe forced trust initially. But what's really fascinating is just the sheer commitment to it.
9 targets, 100% catch rate and a half.
It proves Mahomes was locking onto him, right? Especially when they needed a play. So the conclusion drawn is that Rice might actually be, quote, immune to that depth, at least through these last 2 games.
Immune because?
Because the offense seems absolutely determined to get him the football. They see his potential, and they're actively scheming ways to get him high-leverage, high-success targets.
That level of commitment, that really is the definition of specialization, isn't it? Find your guy, make sure he gets his opportunities within specific play designs, almost regardless of who else is out there.
Precisely.
And that flows perfectly into the backfield where the specialization seems even more explicit.
Oh, yeah. The running back situation in this game, it gives us probably the clearest fantasy edge takeaway from all the analysis. We really need to break down these very specific split roles between Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt.
Okay, so on the surface, just looking at carries, Pacheco dominated the volume.
He did. Pacheco had 12 carries, 58 yards. Hunt only had 9 rushes for 40 yards.
So logic says Pacheco wins the fantasy day, right? More work, more yards.
Usually, yeah. But that's exactly why we do the deep dive. Hunt actually finished with more fantasy points. He got 17.2 points.
Whoa. Okay. How? Despite fewer touches, he only had 10 total, you said. 9 rushes and 1 catch.
1 catch for 2 yards, yeah. 10 touches total. The difference, touchdowns, high leverage touches. Hunt scored twice.
Ah, okay.
1 touchdown on the ground, 1 through the air.
So Pacheco grinds out the yards between the 20s, but Hunt cashes in near the end zone. What's the reason? Why this specific split? What do the articles say?
It really comes down to their physical profiles and how they fit the scheme in certain situations. Pacheco gets the bulk of the early down work because he has that, breakaway speed. He can hit the home run, get to the second level.
Makes sense.
But Hunt, he's clearly solidified now as the go-to guy in those critical spots. Short yardage, goal line, and even some key passing situations.
Why him in those spots?
Analysts point to Hunt having like a lower center of gravity, better short area burst maybe. Compared to the Pacheco's pure long speed, he's seen as the more reliable battering ram right at the line when you absolutely need that yard or two.
So it's incredibly intentional. It's not just random carry splitting, it's actual micromanaging
Yeah.
based on down and distance.
Exactly right. Highly intentional. And the prediction is that this is going to be a continual trend
Why? Why stick with this?
because it seems to maximize what both guys do well and maybe minimizes risk in those gotta-have-it moments. So for fantasy, this split suggests that even though Pacheco might get more carries overall,
Hunt's got the edge.
Hunt likely keeps the fantasy edge for the rest of the season because his value is tied directly to those high-value touchdown opportunities, not just racking up yardage.
Got it. Okay, so let's wrap this up. What does this all mean for the Chiefs as we look ahead?
Well, we've seen this offense bounce back, right?
Yeah.
Key players return, the scoring is up, they're back in the contender conversation. That's point one.
Point two, Mahomes. The interception numbers need context. He's actually playing safer than the stats look.
Definitely. Point three, RASHEE Rice. He's emerging not just organically, but because the team is strategically making him emerge, making him immune to that depth chart volatility, at least for now.
And finally, the backfield. Highly specific roles, with Hunt holding that crucial high-leverage fantasy value despite fewer touches than Pacheco.
It paints this picture of an offense that's maybe traded some of that old free-flowing backyard ball feel for something more structured, hyper-efficient, specialized.
Which brings us back to that core question you raised at the start. The final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Exactly. Given that we see the Chiefs relying so heavily on these specialist roles, now Hunt for goal line, Rice for engineered targets, how is this very structured approach going to hold up when they finally face a truly elite, healthy defense?
Right. Will that specialization be reliable under playoff pressure? Or does that structure become too predictable for the best defensive coordinators in the league to exploit?
Is structure better than flexibility when the chips are really down? That's the big strategic question we'll be watching unfold for the rest of the season.